In today's video, we're going to be talking about fear of picking up the phone, how to actually get people on the phone and not be crapping your pants every time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that I want to mention here, again, this is not my first rodeo. So I got my first real estate job as an ISA back in 2014. According to my math, I didn't do very well in school, but it's October 29th, 2025, give or take, that's about 11 years. So in that time frame, I have literally made hundreds of thousands of phone calls. Everything that I'm saying here is backed up by my own personal real-world experience of actually doing the thing. As is the case, I would say, with pretty much everybody that gets started in real estate, I had zero real estate experience. I had zero sales experience. I had pretty much no reason for anybody to actually hire me. There was no reason why anybody should have hired me. And, to give you even deeper insight as to, sort of the kind of person that I was at the time, I had a chip on my shoulder. I had an ego, the height of, the Empire State Building, right? I was confident, but not very easy to work with. And even to this day, I'm probably guilty of that. The reality was, though, at the time, I was broke, I was desperate, and I had to make it work. So broke and desperate, those are two things that, in sales, those are very difficult things to overcome. Let's be real. Desperation, the only way that I can describe this, it's like the 3-month-old dog piss stain on the carpet that you can't get rid of. Once people get a whiff of the fact that you're desperate or that you're speaking like somebody that might be desperate, the game's over. Good game. Your odds of transacting with that person have gone to zero. But I had to make it work. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had to figure it out. And so that's a powerful lesson in there. Like, when you have to make it work, somehow, by scraping the bottom of the barrel and then the deepest, darkest places of your mind, somehow, if you're lucky, you find a way to climb out of it. After sending out probably 100 resumes, keep in mind, freshly graduated from college, again, there's no reason for anybody to actually give me a job because I have nothing. I have nothing to bring to the table, right? So the only people that are responding to my emails and my phone calls are sales positions, as you might expect, right? So it's all the usual suspects. It's solar sales. It's new home construction. It's, real estate sales, yada, 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 right? So, I actually did get a couple interviews. I ended up getting hired by this guy. His name was Spencer Hash. And, basically my job description was 120 phone calls a day from a conference room. It was very awkward for me, right? Because the conference room, it was like out in the middle of everybody. Like, I didn't have my own office. So everybody heard every single time I got hung up on or, told to pound sand or whatever on the phone. Everybody heard everything, right? And it's a for anybody that's made phone calls, that's a tough way to go when everybody can hear everything, right? So, but I remember very clearly in that first week, I needed to go get gas, and this is just to really give you some context on how broke I actually was. I went to go get gas, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I went to go get gas. I knew that I only had $24 left on my credit limit on my credit card. I had no money in my checking account. I had about $24 in credit limit on a $5,000 limit credit card. That's how broke I was. And I had to double check this on my phone, first of all, and then I put in about $13 worth of gas. The remaining amount was for groceries. This was back before, 2025 inflation, so you could actually get a few things at the grocery store for $13. But those groceries had to last me another week until I actually got paid my first paycheck. That's how broke I was. You learn a lot in times like this, like really testing times, right? And look, I understand it's the United States. It's a first world country. It's not like I'm going to starve to death, okay? But it's scary being out on your own for the first time and not having any money coming in. Anybody that's been, and I think that applies for just about everybody, at least that I know. You know what I'm saying? So what I found in that period of my life, which I still have PTSD from, is that the fear of being on the phone was replaced by the fear of not having any money. Really important lesson there. While this is an excellent motivating factor, and it got me very far in a short amount of time, what I realize is that it will only take you so far as it pertains to actually building a long-term business. And so that brings me to the second point here, which is the real mindset that you have to have if you want to play this game at a high level. You want to play the long game. You want to play the game that has lots of referrals attached to it. You play the game that people desire to do business with you because you just operate in the right way kind of game. It's how many people can I help today? Who am I serving today? What problems can I solve for them? Right? And so, again, what I learned during this, I would say I was an ISA for this particular team for 3 to 4 years, and then I worked as an agent for another year and a half, give or take. But what I learned is that call reluctance is often the result of an unintentionally selfish mindset. And so what I mean by that is that you are too focused on what you are going to say, how you might trip up, how you might make a mistake. In other words, all you're thinking about is yourself. Selfish. Me. What's in it for me? And I'm here to tell you, it's not about you. It's about your prospects. That's the key. It's about your prospect. What problems do they have? How can I serve my prospect at the highest level and solve those problems for my prospect? And that means that I need to focus on what I have control over. So when you focus on 100% of your mental bandwidth on serving others, all fear mathematically disappears. So what do I mean by this? If you think about your mind from the context of, the total amount of mental bandwidth that you have, 100%. That's the mathematical limit is 100%, right? If I'm focusing 100% of my mental bandwidth on serving the needs and the desires of my prospect, there's no room to be fearful on the phone. Let that sink in for a second, right? And so if there's no fear to be fearful on the phone, if there's no mental bandwidth for that, then all of a sudden the game that we're playing is focus on the things that I have control over, and the things that I have control over are finding people that have problems. I am only here to provide somebody a solution if they have a problem. If there's no problem, there's no sale, and there's no selling involved here. This is something that's super important. This is the reason why most people don't want to get on the phone. They think that they're begging for business. It's not the case. There's no begging involved here, all right? It's what problem do you have? If you don't have a problem, I'm not going to stick around on the phone. It's on to the next one, on to the next phone call, right? This is the winning mindset. And so, that brings me to point 3 here, which is fear of rejection. So this is probably the most common reason for avoiding the phone. And the reality is, guys, you're just going to get rejected. So you better get used to it. That's just life. And, I don't know how else to say it apart from get some thicker skin. And again, you have to think about this in the right way. So rejection, how do you even define rejection in the first place, right? So rejection can, and in my opinion, should be reframed as not everybody is going to have a problem, right? And so you must be able to distinguish between the two. A rejection and somebody not having a problem, it's not the same thing. If they do have a problem but they reject you, that's going to happen. It just happened to me the other day, actually, which it's fine. That's why you have to keep the pipeline full. You have to have a certain level of ambivalence about this game. You're not going to win them all, but the goal is to win enough of them and do a great enough job for enough of them that you start building that positive feedback loop of referrals, organic business that I think everybody ultimately is looking for that's playing this game. So again, rejection can and should be reframed as not everybody is going to have a problem, okay? We're not begging for business here. And the other thing that I want to mention here is a rejection is not the same as an objection. Again, you have to be able to read between the lines. And this is probably the most common reason for poor ISA, agent performance, and it doesn't even matter like what sales industry you're in. This is the most common objection in sales, right? No, not interested, not right now, just looking. I'll even put that in there, right? How are you handling this? And this is this is a topic for another video, but if you don't have this absolutely dialed in, you're losing the game. You're leaving like stupid amounts of money on the table. Whose fault is it if you don't have this absolutely dialed in? If it's coming up on 80% of your pickups, no, not interested, not right now, just looking. If you don't have this absolutely dialed in, whose fault is it? And this is not a rejection. This is an objection, right? So you have to learn to read between the lines. What is actually happening here? And that brings me to step 4. So confidence equals competence. Do you actually know what you are saying? Do you actually know what you're talking about? And I would say most of fear of rejection is rooted in simply not knowing what to say. And the reason why most people don't know what to say is because they are not truly dedicated to their craft. They are simply playing the surface level game, right? So there's no substitute for putting in the work. You have to focus on getting 1% better every day. You have to be a student of the game. And, as it pertains to being great on the phone, that means you got to be making phone calls every single day. I am even to this day making phone calls just about every single day. And it's really interesting. I have found that the days that I'm not actually making phone calls, if I have a string of days, let's say I have 2 or even 3 days in a row where I haven't made a phone call, I will find that I'm a little rusty on that third day. Like I need a few phone calls to warm up. And it's really funny, but if you are consistent, you're making phone calls every single day, you start to find this insane rhythm on the phone. And it's just like every single thing that is happening on the phone. Objection, I know exactly how to handle that one. Heard that one yesterday. Yeah, that one, even though I haven't heard it lately, it's so programmed in my mind that I know exactly how to handle it there. That's his problem right there. I know exactly how to handle that. You get this insane rhythm when you just start doing stuff consistently. And there's no other way around it. Like you got to put in the work. So if, as far as not knowing what to say, the best thing that I can recommend here is to start putting together a Google Doc with your buyer and seller scripting. Put your best questions in there, put your best, mindset items in there, and then just refine. And, that is literally what I've been doing for 11 years is putting all of my scripting in Google Docs, refine. And it's reached a point, honestly, where it's very rare where there is not a situation that I have not dealt with many, many times. And it's all written down. So I can go back and I can reference it, right? So you have to write this stuff down. In terms of closing out this video, because I know we're coming, this has been a longer video than I'm used to. Pro tips. If you don't know what you're talking about, talk louder. The way that I would recommend practicing this is the next time you need to go get gas, you walk in, you want to say hi to the person behind the counter, at least that's what I do. I don't know. I like to talk to people, but you want to talk from your chest, right? And so when I walk in, I say something along the lines of, "Hey, what's going on?" Right? And I say it loud enough so that everybody in the gas station turns around and looks at me. And it's not because I want to be looked at. Believe me, I'm the last person that wants any attention on the face of this planet, okay? But I practice it because I know that my voice needs to be pitch perfect at all times. And that's sales in a nutshell. It's maintaining your tonality. It's maintaining your pitch. You have to be performance ready at all times, right? So when in doubt, talk louder. And that was one of the things that I learned when I was working as an ISA for the first time, is that I didn't know what I was talking about, but I found that when I talked louder, people really resonated with that. In fact, like people all in our office, they used to get so pissed at me. We had these, these wood floors in the office, and the voice would travel all throughout the office. So everybody knew when I was on the phone because I was talking loud. And when you're talking loud, it sounds confident. So even if you're not confident, talk louder. The last thing that I'll mention here, guys, if you don't know the answer to the question, don't lie to them. Just tell them, you know what, honestly, I'm not sure, but that's a great question, and I'll find out for you, and I'll get back to you here in about 10 minutes or so. Does that sound all right? Yes, it does. Okay, great. People respect that. Nothing turns somebody off quicker than when somebody can tell that you're bullshitting them, right? So my my suggestion would be, don't pretend like you have all the answers. You don't need to have all the answers. What you do need to have is a response to that question, so you're not scared to be on the phone. That's, I believe, all I have for this video. If you have any questions, drop them below. I appreciate it. Thanks.